and I really believed in the business, and my staff did too. And I was strategic with the hiring. We had a policy book. And you're right. I mean, E-Myth was huge for me because I did systemize and I did create and I kept building. And my heart was involved too. Our punchline or our tagline was helping you achieve your goals. And it wasn't about the dollars and cents. It was about building a community and building it together. And we did get it to a place before I did the sell was that it was running pretty much on its own because we had the checks and balances. We always had a checklist for everything. It was all documented. We got into a nice database as well, tracking system, and we just kept growing and you just kept adding on. And you cannot stop. You really can't say, wow, I built it to this. Now I'm just going to relax. No, you take it to the next level. But it's exciting to take it to the next level. And it does pay back at the end. So what you put in, you get out. You really do.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a fantastic one. Our guest is from the great Canadian province of Prince Edward Island. She is a business consultant and coach who has 24 years of professional business experience in accounting, bookkeeping, income tax, and business development. Cora Dunbar, welcome to the show.
Wow, thanks, Mike. It's such a pleasure to be here today from beautiful PEI. The sun is shining. What's the weather like in Toronto?
You know what? It seems we just keep going through cold weather, as I'm sure the rest of the Eastern Seaboard can attest to. It's been rainy, and it just feels like winter keeps on going.
Yes, and it's been like that here too. So we're really appreciating the nice weather today.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a few glimmers, but it's still pretty cold. But I'm from out west, from Western Canada, and we always had very distinct seasons. So this has kind of been like a little bit of home because it's like you got the winter and then a very cool spring, a nice hot summer, and then back to fall. So this has been more of that. So I've enjoyed it.
Yes, well, you may as well enjoy it.
Exactly. Well, listen, Cora, I'm excited about having a conversation with you today because you've done some really cool things with your business, your bookkeeping business, and now where you're at. And I'd love to get into all of that. But before we do, please let the listener know a little bit about yourself and your career path leading up until now.
Oh, sure. No, that sounds great. Well, where to begin? I mean, I'm currently a single mom. I raised 2 children. But to go back, maybe I'll take you right from the beginning. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. My father, he liked to tinker in a bunch of different businesses. We had a campground. He's a farmer as well. And we had honeybees. And I think I inherited a little bit of that. I didn't get into the honeybees and the farming, but I was very entrepreneurial and did a variety of things as a child. And I actually kept my own ledger from age 12 on. So I think there was a calling right from the beginning to get into this field. I did go to university. I went to Mount Allison over in New Brunswick. I received my commerce degree and yes, and then I got a call back here in PEI to come back for, I guess I got a call to do taxes here in PEI, which was going to be just for one season. And, well, 24 years later. And, it's interesting, Mike, because after I graduated from Mount A, I decided to do a road trip out west, probably, I guess, to your neck of the woods. And that's when I received the call from a gentleman that had just opened his doors, just started his accounting, bookkeeping business. And, again, I thought, well, I ran out of money while I was out west. I'll come back for tax season and I'll head back out. But, I guess I fell back in love with the island and truly enjoyed doing the accounting, bookkeeping side of things. So that's, I guess, a bit of an intro of me. And, I've lived here all my life. except for I do love to travel.
Wonderful. Now, you and I met about 4 years ago, and you mentioned you built your business from the ground up and then sold it. I'd love to hear this. I'd love to hear that story again and share it with the listener.
Oh, sure. Yes. Well, as mentioned, when I got back to Prince Edward Island, I worked with Wally, and he had just opened his doors. I came in pretty much right away as a shareholder. I helped create the business with him, and then he retired 6 years later, and I took over, and I had hired 2 staff members at the time. They worked with me. We built the business. I hired another 7, 8 staff. I guess there's about 10 staff members, and I incorporated, moved to a new location because I outgrew the old, and continued to build the business. And I really enjoyed it. Our focus was mostly on professional bookkeeping, income tax, and accounting, but I did temporary office help as well. And I had quite a few associates and colleagues that I worked with. I'm not a designate. I didn't go further to get my CA at the time, or CPA. The gentleman I worked with, he did have his, and I did start the process, but I thought, no, I'm more of an entrepreneur, and I kept with the bookkeeping business. But the neat thing about me is that I formed quite a few alliances with the professional accountants in the area. So whether it be Grant Thornton, BDO, I had a great working relationship with them. They would even send their bookkeeping clients to me, and I would send any reviews, audits back to them. So it was a great relationship, and I really enjoyed working with my team. My original staff that started with me, the first 2 that I hired, they were with me right whenever. Well, and as I was chatting with you, I guess 4 years ago, when I was looking to merge my business with another firm here in town.
And with selling your business, talk a little bit about what you learned along that journey. I mean, the valuation, what it was worth in terms of the percentage on revenues, that sort of thing. I know many of our listeners either are working towards selling their business or aspire someday to be in a position to be able to sell their business. Would love to share that journey with them.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, you know what? Right from the get-go, I don't know if you've heard, I'm sure you have E-Myth, Michael Gerber. He's
absolutely. We love Michael Gerber, and
Gerber, Gerber. Yeah, so I read his book even before I got into business, and I thought, well, if I'm going to get into this business, I'm going to systemize it. And so right from the beginning, I created systems. I had that mindset as if it was going to be a franchise. I never did franchise it, but I took due care and attention in terms of creating the business. And actually, that's what I really enjoyed, creating a business. And when you build from ground level up, it's pretty exciting, but you do need to start with a strong foundation. So I did, and it means you need to spend money. You need to take time to do a proper build. And during that process, sometimes some things crumble. You got to do another rebuild. When I think of my journey, I believe in, I guess I followed the path of hard knocks, because even when it came to hiring, I've hired people that I thought, wow, they've got the qualifications. I think they're going to be a great staff member. But then I realized, they don't have the same values as me. So that's when we went back. I actually hired a strategic planner along the way, because it's very hard sometimes to see your own business, to see what it is that you're not seeing, I guess is the best way to say it. And with a strategic planner, they were able to help me see what I wasn't seeing. And I know with clients that are just starting out, whether they're doing business plans or whatever assistance they need, I tend to refer them to some funding programs. And I thought, why aren't I using those? And why aren't I getting strategic planners in? So I did that, and that really helped. That helped me grow the business. And I also became part of an entrepreneurs forum, and that was very helpful to do a roundtable discussion. And it's sometimes hard as an entrepreneur to just talk about, what problems you're having in your business, but it's very important to form a support group and a network that you can, whether it's with different business owners, but just to be able to have that conversation and say, hey, I run into this problem, and to bounce ideas. So yeah, and I worked very well with my staff. building the business, I believed in shared leadership. So we met, we had regular meetings, individual meetings, group meetings to see what it is that they needed, what the clients needed. And yeah, so it was working really well for us. You'd asked about the valuing of the business. I guess, Mike, even though I started with franchising or the eMyth idea and I continued with that, I really did not see myself selling the business right away. I did get many offers, more than one, and I had said no, wasn't even going to consider it. But they came in with the idea of doing a merge, and so that did interest me. I was always thinking that someday I would like to partner with someone, and this was a bit different. It was a merge where there was 5 other owners, and I did decide to join with them. They did offer me a top dollar, which really made it both an easy and a difficult decision, Mike, because I really enjoyed my business the way it was. Sometimes growth, I kept growing the business, but I kept getting to that glass ceiling, and I never was trying to get past it. What's the next step? And over a course of a year with this particular business, interested in purchasing or doing the merge, we played with the numbers, and I wasn't shy. I asked for, above the going rate, and they paid me that.
It's remarkable. There's so much information and knowledge that you've given us already. And I think when you build the business in the right way, which is having solid systems and process, and eMyth for our listener, if you haven't read eMyth, you absolutely must read eMyth. Michael Gerber wrote eMyth like 30 or 40 years ago now. I think it's closer to 40 years. Mm-hmm. His first book is by no means, or it is the best book of all of his books. Is his first book, so it's a must read. But then as well, of course, you can buy eMyth Bookkeeper, which is written by both my business partners, Peter Cook and Debbie Roberts, and both of them have been on the podcast several times. And as well, for our listener, what you may not know is if you go into our Successful Bookkeeper community, you can actually get free shipping on the eMyth. And there's a few other programs that include eMyth Bookkeeper in that space. So go and have a look at that. As you can see from what Coralia is saying, it's the book to read. That was probably one of the key things that changed your destiny really around business, was sort of giving you a bit of the roadmap on how to do it. Now, you had to do a lot of work and you invested a ton into your business. I'd like to talk about the size of investment you think you made in time and money into building your business of what was it, 12 bookkeepers, 10, 12, 10, I think you said, 10.
Yeah, we had 10.
What's the investment look like?
That's a good question. Well, I'll tell you what, when starting out, and I must admit, I was very blessed with the fact that this gentleman that I was working with, who I started with, he invested. Now, I know his initial investment, it took us 3 years to get the business off the ground. And, with an investment of, I know he put in $100,000 for sure, but now we're going back 24, 25 years ago. And he certainly put in that amount from a monetary perspective. And I know he did not get paid for the first few years at all. And I know when I took over the business, it was 6 years later and it was starting to grow. But again, when you do a whole revamp, I rebranded it. I gave it a new name, ABI Business Services, which is an acronym. It's accounting, bookkeeping, income tax. And back then, being the first in the yellow pages was it was a good idea. It was a good name for that. And it really worked. My very first year of business, I just remember the staff made, of course, I paid them, but I made maybe $8,000. So when I first took it over, it was, and a year later, I think my son was 10 months old when I actually just took the reins over myself. So yeah, it took that long to really to build the business. Even whenever he was involved, he was gradually doing his exit, and it was a time too. I had my first baby, and then when I was having my second baby, the business was only 4 years old. Not even. It was 3 years old, and my personal relationship broke up. So I was raising 2 kids, running a business. It was quite a wild time in my life, but it worked out really good. You know what? My staff became family to me. They really did. And, we helped each other. It was, and we worked together, and we did take the time. So we were not making fortunes, I'll tell you that. It took a bit. When it was truly my business, whenever I took it over in 2000, for the next 14 years, it was growing. And for a while there, I was only taking out 30,000 and then 40,000, but I kept doing increments as I went. And, even when I was getting ready to do the sell, the merge, there was a lot of, as you're growing a business, there's a lot of change in technology as you hire more staff. But Mike, I'm going to go back and tally up how much money I really invested into this business, but a lot.
Well, you can hear it, right? And you hired strategic planners. All of these things add up. And the point that I want to make is that when you're growing a business, it's not like the business grows itself. There's work to be done. There's pitfalls to be fallen into, and then there's definitely the wins and the high side of the business. And so, you're somebody that's gone right all along that journey. But when you do those investments, when you make the right investments, when you do the work and you build a system-dependent business, as Michael talks about in his book, Michael Gerber talks about in E-Myth, if you build a system-dependent business, it will pay you back in the future because your business will run more smoothly. You'll have the business actually have the capability to earn you income from not your blood, sweat, and tears all the time. And then it's also on the valuation, it's now worth something. There's a great book called Built to Sell. And I worked with thousands of bookkeepers now all over the world. And I always try to get that message across is if you just give that thinking, build it to sell it. Not that, and some people get upset about that because they're building their business is almost like their child, right? They have an emotional connection to it. And it's not to say that you don't want to have that connection and be passionate and love your business. But when you do your service to your business of giving it everything it needs to be the very best that it can be in the world, right? That's what you do with your children, right? You want for your children is the business will be so much better and your life will be so much better when you do that. It's a big investment. It's a lot of time and energy. There's definitely some shortcuts that you can take for sure. But when you do it, it's now done in a way that you'll get that investment back versus spending. If you had not read E-Myth, like you probably would have spent 25 years and you may not have had as big as a payback as you did in the long run.
Yes, that's right. You know what? And I really believed in the business and my staff did too. And I was strategic with the hiring. We had a policy book. And you're right. E-Myth was huge for me because I did systemize and I did create and I kept building. And my heart was involved too. Our punchline or our tagline was helping you achieve your goals. And it wasn't about the dollars and cents. It was about building a community and building it together. And we did get it to a place before I did the sell was that it was running pretty much on its own because we had the checks and balances. We always had a checklist for everything. It was all documented. We got into a nice database as well, tracking system, and we just kept growing and you just kept adding on and you cannot stop. You really can't say, wow, I built it to this. Now I'm just going to relax. No. You take it to the next level, but it's exciting to take it to the next level. And it does pay back at the end. So what you put in, you get out. You really do.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I really worked with the business community too, Mike. I did make a presence. I enjoyed, going to chamber mixers and to events. And that really brought in the clients as well.
The business is out there. It's not inside your office and your home office or your office, anywhere you have your office. The business is out there in the world. Now, there's a lot of people talk about virtual and wanting to attract people from all over the world. all over North America to work with them, which is great. And it really is possible in this day and age. We can attract clients. I mean, this podcast has listeners literally in every country in the planet. I mean, that's crazy to me.
Wow.
I sometimes can't believe it, right? We've got people in the far, far corners of the world listening to this episode alongside everybody else, the majority obviously being North America and Australia. But, the thing is that if I walk out the door, there is like 20, 30 listeners, potential listeners of this podcast right outside my door. And that's the same for us in the bookkeeping space. The listener, your clients are small business owners. You're surrounded by them and they're right out your door. And so if you don't get out there and be involved and be local, you will never meet all of those people. And the truth of the matter is that there's not that many bookkeepers out there that are actively doing this, right? These business owners out there, they far outweigh the amount of bookkeepers that can service these potential clients, and they need the help. Desperately need the help. Now you went out and got involved. You met people, whether it was other accounting firms, but it was getting involved with the chamber. You're now involved with the Rotarians. Nice. That's the way to find and build a really strong lead source into your business, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's all about forming relationships. And, and as you mentioned, with business communities and with the business community, with the individuals, because we do taxes as well, personal and business. To me, it's the best business to have because you're so well-rounded. You get to meet so many people from so many different walks of life. And again, I find it's not about the numbers. The numbers are there and that's what we do, but it's about the relationships. Even my kids all play hockey and I play hockey. So I have a few people from my hockey team that I would be doing their books or doing the hockey books. So, it's pretty neat. Yes,
that's really, really cool and great. Very inspiring, I think, for the listener. And I would say, there are listeners, I've met lots of listeners that they feel somewhat held back from going out and meeting people just because of the nature of the work. You spend a lot of time. It could be easy to spend all the time at the desk doing the work, right?
Sure.
How did you deal with that and get yourself out there? Did you ever feel any resistance to actually going out there and actively marketing and basically blowing your own horn about your business? Did you feel resistance there?
No, actually not for me. I actually enjoyed that part. And actually I have a commerce degree, major marketing, and then I got into the accounting side. I think I got the best of both worlds because accounting keeps me grounded and the marketing side, going out to talk to clients, I believe in what we offer. I truly know that we can help people and, they come in with a mess or they're looking to grow their business and they're trying to figure out what the next step is. And I know myself, I love to be organized, but I'm not the greatest person to organize. So I hire my weaknesses and, focus on everyone's strengths. And it's kind of neat because when I did my hiring, I hired staff. They're all different and they all, I had my backroom staff members. I had my front office. I had management as well. And, again, I took the time both in the office and out of the office. And I called myself the Alpha and the Omega. I would meet with the clients when they come in the door. I would pass the work off to my staff members, and then I would meet with them again at the end of the year. And of course, I'd be out there going to the different functions and giving back to the community as well. We certainly did a lot of that, and it made my staff very happy too, because we would give to whether it was the school or we're the organization, we would try to give back and raise money at Christmas time for charity. And so it all comes around. You create this dynamic and this atmosphere. And people that came into our office were always very happy. They felt welcome. And I made sure that my staff gave the clients the time because, again, it's the human side, right? It's the relationship side. Yeah, it really made the business successful.
I love that. There's one of my favorite authors, Seth Godin. If you haven't heard of Seth Godin, he is Godin, however you want to pronounce it. I'm probably, I think it's Godin, Seth Godin, and I'm butchering it. Poor Seth. He's awesome. Fantastic. Okay. This is a man who's written does a blog post every single day. They're short, they're sweet, and he's been doing it for like 20 years. Every single day you'll get a post from him. And one of my favorite messages that it's a big piece of his work is, as marketers, as business owners, what is the change we're wanting to make in the world? And so you talked a lot about helping small business owners. That's the change you want to make in the world, and you're confident about it, and you are passionate about it, and you want to get out there and see that change happen in the world. So I think that's probably one of your strengths, and what's had you be so successful is that was top of mind when you're going out there, and any resistance was just completely pushed aside because you're just focusing on that change that you want to make in the world. And Seth often talks about how it's just forget about all the rest of things. If focus on that change that you want to make, lead with that, go out there, find those people, those small business owners that are needing your help, and boldly go and help them because they need that help.
It's the greatest feeling, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. Yep.
It's beautiful. Now let's talk a little bit about you. You sold your business. You took a bit of time, and now tell us about where you're headed in the next leg of your journey.
Yeah, sure. So when I did the merge, so it started as a merge and then I eventually sold, and that took over a 4-year period. So, and that's when I reached out to you, Mike, because again, it was, I grew this business. It was my baby, and the whole idea of selling it or merging it, I guess merge and then eventually sell, it was a big decision. And so I did struggle with the actual merging of the business because what I didn't consider was the emotional side of it. Monetary, great, the money was there, but I was never about the money. I always felt that it would come when I was growing the business too. I always thought if you do the right things, set the systems in place, create a great foundation, hire the right people, it'll all come back to you. And it certainly did. And then when I did do the selling of the business, I felt that I needed to do my reach out again. And I reached out to a coach, transformational coach. And I thought I do need some help because I'm doing this transforming the business and also myself as well. And during that time, I thought, you know what, why not become a coach? So I did. I went to the next level and I became a certified transformational coach for both business and personal, more the business side. I still am very much a businesswoman. And so I do that now. I sold the rest of my shares 2 years ago, and I do coaching. I also do consulting. One of my recent contracts, actually I've had it for over a year now. It's with PEI Connectors. I work with newcomers. I work with immigrant entrepreneurs who have arrived here in the island from India, Iran, China, and Vietnam, and they're looking to set up businesses. So, it's a great way to give back. I really enjoy it. So that's one of my contracts. I still do some consulting work, and I have done some for some of the accounting firms in town. And I'm looking at other business ideas. I really enjoy being a business owner, and so I hope to keep you posted on where this all leads to. I'm on a great journey right now, and I'm loving what I'm doing, but I'm in the process of rebranding myself because the PEI Connector role, they came to me, and actually that's how my life has been. Business opportunities just tend to show up or fall in my lap, and away I go. So I'm actually putting together a bus tour next week. So I'm working on that right now because I do event planning as well. So I've got lots of interesting things going on.
I love it.
I still do tax. I can't get away from tax. It's a nice in because everybody needs to get their taxes done, and it tends to lead to bigger things too. So yeah, I enjoy it.
Wonderful. Well, you're definitely a person we love to hear about and hear from. You're out there helping small businesses. It's inspirational, and it does our countries well when we have thriving small businesses. So I'm excited to hear where this next leg takes you. And I just want to thank you on behalf of our listener for sharing your journey. I mean, this is many will hear this and have learned or seen something that they could do differently or be inspired to take new actions. And that is such a gift to us. So thank you for that. It's a pleasure having you on. And I would love for you to share, if people are interested in reaching out to you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Well, I don't have my website set up yet. I'm on LinkedIn under Cora Lee Dunbar, and my email, Cora Lee, CORALEE at cldpei.com. And I'll give you another. PEI Connectors is another way of getting through to me. And the website is www.peiconnectors.ca. And I would love to help. And if anyone was interested in reaching out to me, I would certainly love to help them along the way. I do have a lady that is looking to set up a bookkeeping business right now, and she actually has one, but she's looking to take it to the next level. So I'm working with her, and would certainly love to help along the way. If there's anyone has any interest at all, that would be my pleasure.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, Cora Lee, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed this today.
Excellent.
Yes, you take care. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. And I will say, if you're listening to this and you got value from this podcast, please let us know. Wherever you listen to your podcast, just click there on that review somewhere. I know some of the user interfaces are difficult on Android and iPhones, but if you can find a way to leave us a review and let us know and let others know about the podcast, it sure does help us get the word out. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.